Yo, what's up? So this is Wayne from My Tech News, and I'm actually doing a live stream right now because truthfully, I kind of wanted to do more live streams on the YouTube channel or just on the internet in general. I don't know how many people are actually going to make it out to this live stream, but like I said, I do want to do more live streams on my channel or somewhere on the internet. And I guess it's okay if nobody actually enters the stream. Hopefully some people will enter the stream, but it's okay if like literally nobody enters the stream. It's just a good way for me to like vent or talk and things like that about my feelings and about what's going on and things like that. Truthfully, I actually wanted to stream somewhere else, but I know I have kind of a following here and things like that. So I'm gonna give it a go right about now. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things that are literally just on my mind. So this is not going to be edited. I'm not going to try to not speak my mind. I'm actually going to try to speak my mind. And yes, you can see right here, I do have a lot of beard hair because truthfully, I haven't shaved in a while and I do need to make an effort to actually shave my face. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm actually going to go ahead and try to shave my face. And I have some ideas for streaming. I kind of want to do stuff like this primarily. This was like this has been my goal for quite some time. Honestly, if you were to ask me, I've always wanted to do like IRL streams or like just chatting streams where I just literally sit down in front of the camera, have like these one-on-one conversation with you guys where I just sit here, talk about my feelings, talk about your feelings, talk about what's going on and things like that. That's primarily what I actually want to do alongside my content here on YouTube. Of course, I do like playing games and things like that. So that's not really uh, anything new to you guys because you guys know I love tech, I love technology and things like that. And I actually wanted to play a little bit of Borderlands 3 on my YouTube channel, which I actually didn't get around to doing. I do have my PlayStation actually hooked up in the background, and I actually have a face cam for my PlayStation, and I'm actually going to be doing it if I ended up playing Borderlands 3 from my console. I actually ended up just streaming it from the actual console. It says Michelle W1199 do Super Mario Galaxy gameplay walkthroughs. I don't actually play Super Mario Galaxy to be honest because that's one of my games that I actually do not enjoy playing, believe it or not. I actually love 3D Mario games or Mario games in general, but the thing is, though, I'm not really a fan of Super Mario Galaxy. Plus, I don't really have a way to stream that game because I truthfully do not have a Wii hooked up anywhere in my vicinity. My friend actually has my original Wii, and I don't have a copy of it, so that's no go. But going back to what I was gonna stream on my PS4, and I primarily, like I said, wanted to play. Have you watched Toy Story 4? Actually, I have watched Toy Story 4, believe it or not, and Toy Story 4 is actually a pretty good movie. I will have to admit. I don't know if it's my favorite Toy Story movie, but I definitely like the Toy Story 4 better than Toy Story 3 for sure. Because the problem with Toy Story 3 for me personally, it was just a little bit too emotional, and for some reason, I hated the part where the toys were about to die, and just the fact that the guy in like the babysitting place or the preschool really tortured them. I think that big teddy bear and that old like grandpa looking toy, that thing really bothered me. But yes, I do like Toy Story 4. I actually seen that movie on release date, which I actually thought was pretty good a movie. Believe it or not, my sister watched that movie and she didn't actually like it as much as I did. But I think that's just a flat out a great movie, and I pretty much love everything when it comes to Pixar and when it comes to things like Disney stuff and things like that. I know I keep looking away from the camera, but I'm just also trying to practice looking more at the camera so I can get a little bit better and things like that. But going back to what I was saying that I'm going to be streaming on my PS4 and I want to play Borderlands, and I have a face cam for my Borderlands setup or for my PlayStation 4, which I want to stream maybe tomorrow or the next day, depending on how things go. And I'm going to be trying that as well because the thing is, believe it or not, like I said, I do actually want to actually do more of these IRL streams or just chatting streams. It gets my mind off of things and everything like that. But the thing is, though, I think it's a little bit more easier for me to keep conversation going or keep things flowing if I'm playing a game alongside me talking and things like that. So that's why I kind of want to play a game on stream. But then again, I don't want to play a game on stream if that actually makes sense. So it's a like a double-edged sword. On one hand, I want to do it, but then on another hand, I really don't want to do it as well. So it is what it is when it comes to that specifically. And I don't know how I actually like my setup right now because I feel like my setup right now is not the greatest setup just because, well, I do have a white wall behind me, and the white wall behind me I feel like can be a little bit tacky, especially since you don't see like my personality. I understand why some people want to have some stuff in the background of their actual stream because having stuff in like the background of the stream I feel like really does show what you're like into. For instance, like maybe you're into games, maybe you're into movies, maybe you into whatever, and you can show that off in the background. You can kind of get to know the person by just by seeing things in their background. So I may actually end up putting something on this wall. I do have a couple of gaming posters, but I think they're on a different wall. And the thing is, though, I always wanted a clean setup, but it wouldn't hurt to put something up in the background since most of the time you don't see people just streaming with just like a clear background or just like a white wall, which can be a little bit off putting to some people depending on who you actually talk to in regards to your stream and your layout and things like that. And there's some other stuff I actually wanted to talk about right now. This stream may go quite some time. I'm actually looking over here purposely because I actually need to clean my room since my room's actually a complete disaster right now. My room is not all too clean. There's pretty much clothing all over the place. I'm gonna have to admit it. I'm trying to like open up a little bit more about me, and I'm also just trying to talk and things like that, which really helps me. So I might be still here on the stream, but I may actually be in the background cleaning my room since my room actually needs cleaning. I'm gonna admit it. I was never the cleanest person when it comes to like organization and things like that, but I really need to take care of my room. So that's gonna be probably something I'm gonna do in this stream alone. And then another thing I was actually trying out for the first time, since I'm just talking about like technology, gaming, and things like that. I actually wanted to talk about my experiences with Apple Arcade since I recently got a subscription to Apple Arcade. I didn't actually take the subscription. I got like the free trial, which is a month trial of Apple Arcade. So basically, how it works is you get a month free of Apple Arcade, and it pretty much works on a lot of different devices. I think it works on the Macs, the iPhones, of course, the iPads. It even works on the Apple TV and things like that. So it pretty much works on anything that has an Apple operating system and things like that, which is actually great. And it does work across multiple devices, so you can switch devices. You're not going to be tied to one device when you use Apple TV. And I tried Apple TV for the, or I don't know why I'm saying literally Apple TV. I wanted to say that I did try Apple Arcade for the first time, and me trying Apple Arcade for the first time was an okay experience. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say it was like some kind of mind blowing experience where like I was blown away or anything because the quality of those games aren't necessarily better than the quality of games that you would get on something like the App Store or the Google Play Store. The nice thing about those games are you do have like over 100 games at your disposal to choose from. The quality of those are generally really good. They're definitely better than a lot of free to play games and things like that because you know when you're on like the app store or when you're on like yeah, pretty much app stores and things like that, you guys know you have to like search around for games. It can be kind of like hit or miss when it comes to games on the app stores. So it is actually very nice that they have all those games in one place when it comes to the Apple Arcade. And honestly, I wasn't like blown away. I think the nice thing about it is the fact that all the games on Apple Arcade are actually going to be games that you can actually buy on Apple or excuse me, all the games on Apple Arcade are actually games I do know for a factor. They don't have any microtransactions, and on top of that, they don't have any ads, so you can't actually be bombarded by ads when you actually play Apple Arcade games, which is actually pretty sweet. I do have to admit that, and that's one reason why, if you're a mobile gamer, you may want to check out Apple Arcade. But besides that, I don't really know why you would want to pick up Apple Arcade because a lot of those games aren't like mind-blowing games, but I guess you get what you pay for. And I'm still trying to figure out what games I actually want on Apple Arcade or what I want to play, because truthfully, I'm not really a big mobile gamer when it comes to like playing video games and things like that. And I seen the message that popped up. Let me see if I can read this. January 18th, will you watch Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, third edition, season 5? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I don't normally will watch, well, I watch game shows, but the thing is, though, I don't really have a way to watch shows, and I don't really go out of my way to watch like a new season of a game show. So honestly, I probably won't be watching a game show anytime soon, since like I don't really have a way to watch it. Me personally, I don't pay for cable TV anymore. I just don't find the need for cable TV. I don't like the fact that every time I go to something like cable TV, I always see the same show. I think that's why I really don't like cable TV. It's not the fact that cable TV bombards you with ads. It's like, for instance, you take something like whatever channel you're watching, and a lot of the time these channels show the same show, and they've been showing like the same like two or three shows for like God knows how long. And since they've been showing these shows like literally the same two or three shows for God knows how long. It just doesn't make sense for me to pay for cable TV. So I don't pay for cable TV. I watch things like Netflix, and I've been watching a lot of Disney Plus. I actually do enjoy Disney Plus. I'm actually a Disney kid at heart. I love everything Disney. I remember when I was a kid, I watched a lot of Disney Channel, to be more specific. I did watch some of the Disney like classic movies like Bambi and things like Dumbo and all those classics, but I don't really have too many fond memories. It was mostly me watching the Disney Channel stuff. I'm actually big into Disney Channel. And whenever I had cable, even like 5 years ago, it's actually really weird that I was still watching Disney Channel stuff, because someone on my age probably wouldn't watch Disney Channel stuff. But for some reason, it was just always easy for me to turn on the TV. And for some reason, I always still gravitated towards Disney Channel content. I know that sounds really tacky and really weird that that a person in like my age would want to watch that stuff, but it's just something that I like. Okay, I can't explain why. I think it's just like, I don't know. I don't really like watching a lot of TV shows or a lot of movies. Well, not maybe not movies, but I don't like watching a lot of TV shows like a lot of TV shows that are whatchamacallit, like more mature and stuff like that. Not that I'm not mature. I can definitely be mature. It's just like, I just love that stuff, and I've just grown up with it. It just speaks to me. But I will say the quality of their shows recently, at least on the regular Disney Channel, have not been the greatest. They're kind of like hit or miss, to be honest. And a lot of these were not the greatest. I honestly wish growing up, actually, I was one of those kids that actually had Disney XD, because me and my friend had this conversation. And for me and him, we can definitely agree that, at least for us, we really did like Disney XD more, because it had more things, more like action oriented shows, if that makes sense. And then on top of the Disney XD stuff being more action oriented, they also had more things based around guys and around villains and around superheroes. Whereas the regular Disney Channel, it was always about like girl stuff. You had a lot of girl sitcoms like That's So Raven, Hannah Montana, things like that. So it was a little bit more girl focused, if that makes sense. So it is what it is, but I actually really did enjoy that. And yeah, I've been watching, like I said, a lot of Disney Plus. You may also notice for this stream, I am actually watching my call. I'm going to be jumping around a lot, because this is just like literally me sitting in front of the camera talking for quite some time, and I don't really have anything like I don't have anything pre-ready, whatever you call it. So yeah, but yeah, going, I guess, back to Apple TV. I was gonna say that, or Apple TV. Going back to Apple Arcade, I was gonna say it's just an okay service. I'm trying to see if that service is going to be for me. I guess the real reason why I actually got Apple Arcade was the fact that I actually wanted to stream Apple Arcade for the first time on my YouTube channel, but it turns out I don't really have an actual good way to stream those games. So that's pretty much off the table. And besides that, I don't think I'm actually ever going to play those games. And the one game I seriously tried on Apple Arcade was I forgot the name of the game, but basically the game that I actually played on my Apple Arcade subscription didn't support the controllers, and I heard that a lot of those games support controllers, but the one I did for some reason does not support controller, which was absolutely frustrating and absolutely aggravating that the fact that this doesn't actually support a controller. So I didn't actually use a controller when I was actually playing the Apple Arcade game, which kind of really did bum me out. And it's kind of really inconvenient to be streaming a game on there, and then also on top of that, actually be playing or streaming and playing the game at the same time with the touchscreen as well. And I guess moving on to some different topics, I do want to talk a little bit about my YouTube channel. Since you guys know I do content on my YouTube channel, I usually talk about gaming and tech news, and there's actually been some quite developments when it comes to next gen stuff or when it comes to like tech in general and things like that. And I do need to upload some videos because it's been a quick minute, a couple of days now since I uploaded a YouTube video. It's just that, like I said before, if you came in here a little bit earlier, I have a lot going on in my life, and I have a lot that's actually bothering me. So that's why I haven't uploaded something in a little bit, but I do want to upload some more stuff. I actually have a couple. I think I have one review that's going to go up on my channel relatively soon. I think the video is already done and already edited. I just have to upload it to my YouTube channel, and then I think some more videos that are coming out. I do still want to talk a little bit about next gen consoles, since we do have some more information on next gen consoles. Of course, speaking on the topic of next gen consoles, I do have to say this: it's pretty early for any like big information on the next gen consoles. Of course, regarding the next Xbox, we already know what the name is. I think it's something like Xbox Series X, and then we also have apparently Microsoft talking about how now they just want to name it Xbox instead of Xbox Series X, which is kind of interesting that Microsoft wants to name their console Xbox, just Xbox. I think when it comes to Microsoft, we can pretty much all agree here, let's be honest, that Microsoft literally doesn't know what they want to call their next Xbox, and their name is just literally all over the place. Can we honestly admit that? I'm honestly in the camp where I already talked about this on my YouTube channel, but I'm in the camp that really doesn't like the name for the next gen console. I think the next gen console name is a little bit tacky, and honestly, it just confuses the heck out of consumers. You have to think about it this way. You remember the Wii and the Wii U, right? The Wii U was supposed to be the successor to the Wii, but the problem is they named that system horribly wrong. Why would you name a system Wii U? Wii U just literally doesn't make sense. And then on top of they're naming it the Wii U. The problem is when they first showed the Wii back in, or excuse me, the Wii U back in like 2011 or 12, whenever they did the press conference for the Wii U, you do have to remember they came on and they did this video presentation, and the video presentation was just god awful for that system. You guys know this. It was straight god awful. Because basically what happened was, you guys remember when they did that presentation, they pretty much didn't inform like the gamers, or didn't inform the consumers that that system was actually going to be a brand new system. A lot of the problems were, you watch that trailer and all you see is them playing games, and the games that they're actually playing in that trailer are absolutely horrible. I mean horrible, because they're games that you think play on the original Wii. They're playing things like I think Wii Sports, and then they're also playing games like New Super Mario Bros. U. And the problem with those games is they're not bad games. Don't get me wrong, they're great games, but the problem is they didn't explain to the users that it's a new console. All they showed was some dude playing like a New Super Mario Bros. U, but he was playing it on the gamepad. And since he was playing it on the gamepad, I remember the day I saw that trailer, I was like, oh my god, why do I need why do I need this system called the Wii U? I don't need an attachment to my Wii that literally just lets me stream games while I'm watching the TV. It just literally makes no sense to me. And that's literally why that system failed so bad. The name was bad and the presentation was just seriously the worst thing that Nintendo could have thought. They should have came out the gate right away and actually showed the system. They should have showed some brand new unique games for the system. The thing is though, they never actually showed this system. They showed the system on someone's like entertainment system, but they didn't actually show it to the consumers. It was tucked away in the back. And the problem is also the Wii U is actually one system that actually looks like the original Wii. It just looks so similar when they zoomed in and panned in on the actual actual trailer. It actually literally looked, it literally, I kid you not, it literally looked like the original Wii. It did not look like a brand new console. So nobody knew it was a brand new console. And everybody was thinking, oh, the Wii U, it's an add on. Let's not buy this add on system for a Wii that we're pretty much already done for. And we don't need an add on to play these old games that we've already played millions of times off the TV just by watching TV. So we're not going to buy this system if that makes sense. And that's why that system failed. So basically, it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen next year when it comes to the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 5. Again, I'm not too happy about what Microsoft's going to call the system. And also, it confuses consumers as well when we talk about, I think, the Xbox One X or Xbox Series X. That's literally the problem here, okay? Literally the problem here is they have a system also called the Xbox One X and now the Xbox Series X, and now Microsoft is saying they might just call this the original Xbox, no subtitle to the name like Xbox One, Xbox Two. What they should have done is, if there were a smart company, what Microsoft definitely should have done was they should have named them in sequential order, I do believe, kind of like what PlayStation does. You know, we have the PlayStation 1, we have the PlayStation 2, we have the PlayStation 3, 4, 5, 6, and then if Sony wants to make another console, they just name it just like an iPhone. PS6, PS7, PS8, PS9. That would have been actually the smart move from Microsoft. And then Microsoft got a little bit weird with their names, kind of like Nintendo. Nintendo, in my opinion, when it comes to the names of the system, I think the names of the system when it comes to Nintendo are a little bit hit or miss. It really does depend on the concept, and there's really no way to guarantee if Nintendo's consoles are going to do good or do somewhat good because they're always hit or miss. Nintendo is one of those companies, you guys know, that always tries to do things outside of the box. They don't do traditional gaming in a lot of aspects. In a lot of aspects they do, but in a lot of aspects they don't. So who really knows what Nintendo's going on? But I seriously just want to know what Microsoft is going to be doing for the next Xbox and things like that, which is very interesting to see what Microsoft is going to be doing with their next Xbox. And let's face it, when it comes to the Xbox One line of systems, we all know what happened to the Xbox One line of systems. There was just literally a lot of problems when it comes to that system, and I'm not surprised. I talked about this on my channel already, but I'm not really honestly surprised that they came out and said that the Nintendo Switch has already sold more than the Xbox One consoles right now. It already surpassed it. I'm not really surprised. Microsoft is one of those companies that honestly I think a lot of people agree. Like I said before, I can safely say this. I think they don't know where to actually or they don't know what to actually do with their Xbox branded console now that also that a lot of their games just work on PC. Are they really trying to make this a set top box? Are they trying to combine their games with the PC? What are they actually doing with their console? Honestly, I just don't know. And the fact that also nowadays Microsoft is in a situation, at least with the one, where you guys know they don't have a lot of exclusives, and the exclusives they have are getting kind of old. They really need a new IP to really pull people back into the Xbox brand. I know that there's some loyal gamers that'll always stick to Xbox, and some of their first party IPs that are exclusive to Microsoft are some games that some people will always have ties with. Like for instance, let's talk about, of course, Halo. Halo has been one of their babies for pretty much ever. I remember playing Halo back in the day. It was actually, I do believe, one of my first games that was a first person shooter back in the day. And that game is still magical to some extent, but let's be all honest here. I don't think Halo has that same appeal that it had way back in the day. And every time they make a brand new Halo, I feel like less and less people really gravitate to the Halo brand and things like that because, well, we've had Halo, and what are they really doing with Halo? I don't think Halo is as what you want to say. It's as is as magical as it was back in the day. So I get that they really need something to pull people in. But at least the good news is with these next generation consoles like the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series X is yeah, the Xbox Series X is actually going to have more IPs. It's pretty much already confirmed at this point. when we talk about this stuff, because let's face it, Microsoft recently, like in the last couple of years, bought a lot of different studios out, so they have more studios under their belt, and it really does seem like they're focusing more on the gaming aspect, and they're trying to put gamers first instead of the media side of things. So that's actually going to be more interesting. One thing I am actually curious about as well is talking about gaming. I am actually curious about the PS5, because right now it just seems like a lot of people are actually talking about things like the next Xbox, the Xbox Series X, and not necessarily the PS5. And we don't know too much about the PS5. Granted, we haven't really seen a reveal for the PS5, so we don't know even what that thing looks like. Of course, there was that one leak, of course, where they had the dev kits floating around, and the dev kits floating around for the Xbox Series, or excuse me, the PS5 did not look good. It looked like a 90s spaceship. It's like, you guys know, back in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, or 90s. I don't know what time period, but you guys know, prior to the 21st century, the 20th century, when it was about to be out, you guys know a lot of people were sci-fi stuff. A lot of people wanted to see what the future was. Was it going to be like something like the Terminator? Was it going to be something like the Jetsons and things like that? So a lot of things were always based about space, traveling to space, sci-fi tech and things like that. And that's pretty much what the dev kits look like for the PS5 system. And honestly, they're not great. And there's some people out there that, for some, just literally for some odd reason, they honestly think they honestly think that's going to be the way the PS5 is actually going to be when it actually releases in the end of 2020, so the end of next year. But honestly, I'm like 99% sure there's no way in hell they're going to release a system that looks like a spaceship. If they're going to release a system that literally looks like a spaceship, then they're going to be freaking doomed, because that thing looks like the ugliest thing, and you know there's no way that they're going to come out swinging like that. I think that they're actually either going to do it like the consoles that we have now, like the PS4. You guys know the PS4 just sits on a desk or sits in an entertainment system, or most likely, I think it's actually a higher chance that they might actually copy the design of the Xbox Series X that just got revealed recently, because it would make sense. They wouldn't want a box that looks so different than what Microsoft is doing. If you look at what Sony and Microsoft have been doing for like the last 10 to 15 years, you guys know that their game consoles primarily look the same. They don't necessarily look different to one another. They look so similar. They're both like, they both lay flat basically. So I believe they both stand up. But it depends, like how long they've been developing the PS5. Did they develop the PS5 before the Xbox Series X? Because if they developed the PS5 before the Xbox Series X, then of course it may still be a game console that actually lays flat instead of stands up. I'm not quite sure if it's vertical or horizontal. I always get those words mixed up. I apologize for that. I'm not one of those people that can remember right off the bat which is which. So don't ask me honestly, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not going to look like a spaceship. Why would it look like a spaceship? That's funny. I actually want to know as well is, I've always wondered this. So when the devs actually get the PS5 dev kits, and they're actually developing for it right now, is that a system that can actually be used for like the long term? Does that mean when the actual PS5 is out, do those systems still work and things like that? Because I will have to admit, as a geek, as a gamer, as a tech enthusiast, it would actually be really sweet to own one of those dev kits, even though the PS5 dev kit looks like a freaking disaster. It looks like the ugliest thing. It looks like an ugly spaceship. But just the fact that if I own that thing, and I was like one of the few devs in the world that own that thing, I can still play it outside of the PS5 officially being launched. That would actually be pretty awesome. I'm just gonna say it here just to know that I have something that looks so ugly under my entertainment system. But if that's actually, now that I think about it, if that's actually the way that the PS5 dev kits look, it has actually me believing for some reason that it's still going to sit down like that. It's not going to stand up like the Xbox Series X. So who really knows about that? So that's pretty much it when it comes to next gen consoles. I think I got everything out of the way. And then, of course, I guess talking a little bit about that, we do have Nintendo, and who knows what Nintendo is actually thinking about when we're talking about the next Nintendo system. Trash bag fashion lover, how you doing? How you doing tonight? I'm just talking about gaming and technology. And yes, I have a YouTube channel that you're watching me on right now, and I actually do like real content on it. So if you're interested in watching my content, I would really appreciate it if you throw me a follow. But if you don't want to, that's great as well. But I'm not actually doing great. That's why I'm actually on the camera trying to like socialize and trying to talk about my feelings and just talk about random things because I really need to vent and I really want to do this. And I've always wanted to do IRL streaming and things like that. Just sit in front of the camera, talk to people, talk to myself, talk about my feelings, just talk about a lot of different things. So that's why I'm here right now in front of the camera, talking about a lot of different things. But my name on YouTube is My Tech News, so don't expect me not to talk about things about tech and things about gaming and things like that because that's what I've always been passionate about. I've always been passionate about technology, gaming, and things like that. So that's primarily what these streams are going to be. And I actually plan on doing more of these streams, and I actually want to do this a lot because I actually like this, and I actually want to help people as well who are having like difficult times and things like that. Because, like I said, I do love talking about feelings. I do just love talking about different things. So I don't want to make it just solely about technology, gaming, and things like that. I actually do want to branch out a little bit. And I saw your comment, so I actually want to read your comment. Let me take a breather here because I actually been talking for pretty much 30 minutes straight. I'm just gonna sit here and not lie. Let's see if I can get the chat room back up. Trying to figure out how this live streaming works when you're on the camera. Let me see here. I have a challenge for you. That challenge is that hold on. Why is the chat going up? That's ridiculous. Like it just disappears. I have a challenge for you. That challenge is to ask the closest woman the following question: will you wear an unused plastic garbage bag as clothing? Do you accept? Well, honestly, if you ask me that question, I think it's a little weird, but I mean, if it's in my own house, then yeah, I'd probably be willing to try it. But honestly, I do think that's a little bit weird. But hey, I don't really want to judge people because I'm not quite sure about that. I just think it's a really funny question to be honest. Costless MVP, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. We're just talking about technology and gaming and whatever really comes to your mind. So don't feel like you have to talk about gaming and tech. You can pretty much throw anything out there, and I'm willing to talk about it uh, as long as it's not too over the top and things like that. I don't really like talking about things like politics. I don't really like talking about things like what else do I not like talking about? Well, there's other things I don't like talking about, but I just don't make it a topic that's too over the top and things like that. And also, if you're liking this stream, really feel free to follow me because, like I said before, I am going to be trying to do this a lot more in the future, like a lot, because I really want to do this. I think this is just a good opportunity for me to just sit here and vent and just talk and things like that. Now let's actually get back to what I actually wanted to say previously. I was talking about what Nintendo was going to do for like after the PS5 and the next Xbox comes out because anything is literally not off the table because who knows what Nintendo is actually going to do. Of course, we still have those rumors that are floating around the internet that a lot of people are talking about how Nintendo is going to make like the next Switch, a Switch Pro, or like the Switch 2 and things like that. Will they just keep this same ecosystem? Or a lot of people don't even talk about this. They only talk about how Nintendo needs to make a successor to the Switch as soon as possible because we know the next generation of consoles are coming up, right? But here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that Nintendo necessarily has to go out and make something like a Switch 2, a Super Switch, a Switch Pro to actually be competitive in the gaming race because you do have to realize Nintendo was always in their own little bubble. To be honest, Nintendo always did things differently than them. They weren't on the same power. Like if you look at the Xbox and the PlayStation, those two systems were always systems that were always a little bit competitive and they had a lot of similarities when it comes to the games library, when it comes to the types of games they play. They were always marketed towards things like hardcore gamers. To be honest, I know that's a cringe-worthy word, and a lot of people just don't like that word. Uh, uh, hardcore gamer or casual gamer, but that's the best word I can describe it. And they've always been so similar. And also in terms of power, every single generation, they've always shared the same power and they always played so similarly. That makes sense. They were always basically trying to hit the same demographic of gamers. And Nintendo was always trying to hit the more casual gamers and gamers who liked not taking things a little bit too serious, always willing to try new things and things like that. So I still think that there is a chance that Nintendo doesn't even necessarily need to make a Switch 2, a Switch Pro, or whatever the case is, right out the gate when the next gen consoles start heating up. I saw that message. Let me go ahead and go to chat. I don't know why the chat just randomly disappears off my screen. Okay, top chat. Let's see here. Xbox Series X gonna have lots of exclusives. I can agree on that. I definitely think that the next Xbox is gonna have a lot of exclusives because they made all those deals. I think there was like 15 studios that Microsoft actually got under their belt, and I'm actually hoping they do have more exclusives because I own the Xbox One. I've owned it in 2015. If you're an old subscriber, you'll know that I played what's that game? I played Halo and then I played Call of Duty, but outside of that, I didn't own a lot for my Xbox. And the main reason I bought the Xbox, to be honest, I actually bought it for the Halo series because the Halo series is still something I hold dear to myself. It's not something that maybe I would right now want to go out and buy a Xbox just to play Halo again because it's kind of turning me the wrong way just to buy like a console for $300 or $400 just to play something like Halo. To be honest, it is what it is, but I kind of felt gypped off when I bought that just to play Halo 5, honestly, because for some reason prior to actually buying the Xbox One, I hadn't played games for a while because before then I really took a very long hiatus off of gaming, believe it or not. I think the last system I actually played before that was actually the 360, but here's the thing. The 360 I actually played like I think the last time I played it was like 2010, so you can see, or 2011, correct me if I'm wrong. It was either 11 or 12. I can't actually remember when I last played my Xbox 360, but I waited like 4 years after it to pick it up. And then before then, I guess I was just dabbling around in like maybe mobile gaming. I do know I owned a Nintendo 3DS because I did love the 3DS, believe it or not. I mostly bought it for the first party titles for Nintendo since I've always kind of still hold my heart close to Nintendo, and I'm a big Nintendo fan, believe it or not. And I've streamed Nintendo here, and I talk a lot about the Nintendo Switch because it just speaks to me in a lot of different ways. Like I said, I'm still a kid at heart, but now that I'm actually playing a lot of Nintendo Switch, I'm realizing something else as well. I'm actually realizing that the Switch is not a system that's actually speaking to me at the moment because I think I played all of the first party games that I actually want to play, and a lot of the other games that are first party games are games that I don't actually like. A lot of them are like RPGs and games that I'm not interested in. And also, I highly appreciate whoever did give this video a big thumbs up. That really does help my YouTube channel. And honestly, that does mean a lot to me. I'm not even exaggerating. Again, thank you for whoever liked my video. I don't really get a lot of likes on my video, nor do I get a lot of viewers, but I'm working on it and I'm just trying to, like I said, make more live streams and things like that. But going back to what I was saying was, I don't think I'm actually loving the Nintendo Switch as much as I did in the past. And I haven't bought a game in like 4 months, and I don't actually plan on buying another Nintendo Switch game anytime soon because honestly, it just doesn't make sense to me to buy more Nintendo Switch games when honestly, I don't have a reason to buy Nintendo Switch games because, well, there's nothing that speaks to me. I'm honestly waiting. Let me take a breather here because this is a lot. But honestly, I'm waiting until next year to see what Nintendo is actually going to offer when it comes to the Nintendo Switch because you do have to realize Nintendo's 2020 map is actually all over the place. We really don't know what Nintendo is actually going to bring to the table. We do know, of course, of Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing Switch is coming out in March of next year. We also know there's No More Heroes 3. And I think there's something else that was confirmed, but I can't remember about that. But besides that, that's about it. So their map is undone. And then, of course, the next gen consoles are
on the way next year. And there is one game I'm actually looking forward to, which is not a Nintendo game, believe it or not. I'm actually looking forward to Final Fantasy VII because I know Final Fantasy VII is going to be a flat out amazing game. I love Final Fantasy VII. Fantasy VII is amazing. And yes, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, definitely go play Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is the one with Cloud Strife. Everyone knows who Cloud is, the character with the big sword. He's also in Super Smash Brothers. Just I don't know if he's my favorite Final Fantasy character, but he is one of the best or the coolest Final Fantasy characters, and he's the one that a lot of people know even outside of gaming, or if you only dabble in gaming a little bit, you know who Cloud Strife is. But yes, I am looking forward to Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy VII is actually releasing on the PS4, but I think Final Fantasy VII is releasing in multiple different parts. I think there's going to be like a part one of Final Fantasy VII, and then there's going to be like another part two. I think they're breaking it up. I don't know how I feel about Square Enix breaking up the Final Fantasy VII remake or remaster or whatever it's called, but it is going to be interesting, and that's one game I am going to try to play on day one. I think I saw somewhere because I always look up the tech and gaming news. I think Square Enix is actually going to release a demo for that game. I could be wrong, but I probably won't play the demo to be honest because I'm looking forward to seeing that game for the first time. I mean, I've seen some stuff at like the Game Awards and I've seen some stuff at like E3 about it and the Square Enix presentation last year. So I've already seen some stuff for that game, but that game looks like a flat out fantastic game. As of 2020, I can definitely say that might be my most anticipated game of the year because that game looks very hype and very amazing. It's just too bad that I won't be able to play in the highest quality. I hope that game supports 4K resolutions and whatnot. Since in the last couple of years, I did end up getting a 4K TV, and I haven't really experienced a lot of 4K gaming to be honest, because I don't actually have a way to play 4K games. I don't have a system for it, even though I have a TV for it. I have a gaming computer, but let's be honest, I don't really play a lot of gaming, a lot of content on my gaming PC. And the games that I play, I usually only play at 1080p because that's literally all my computer can handle when it comes to gaming on my gaming PC. So that's it. And just the fact that I never liked gaming PC in general. I don't hate it, but I'm not the biggest fan just because I don't like sitting in front of a computer with a mouse and keyboard. I'd rather relax like on my chair or on a couch and just sit there with a controller, sit back, relax. It's just more comfortable for me. It just always made sense to me. And the fact that I just have to turn on the system, load up the game, and it just works and you don't have to worry about compatibility issues. It's not like nowadays when it comes to a modern day gaming on PCs, it's that hard. I remember back in the day when it comes to gaming PCs, I remember back on like Vista or like Windows 7 to some extent. Even nowadays, to some extent, you had to worry about driver compatibility. You also had to worry about things like card compatibility or game softwares and things like that. Basically, it was just a real big hassle to actually play a lot of games on the PC, but nowadays it's not too bad. And it did suck way back in the day. You had to worry about just a lot of different issues. So that's normally why I never gravitated towards it. And nowadays it just doesn't make sense. And then on top of that, I have like this really weird thing about me where I would honestly rather just have all my games in one place. I know this is really weird, and collectors may think I'm just strange for this, but I really like having my games, like I said, on one console. So, like if for instance, I'm a Nintendo fan, I normally try to buy all my games on Nintendo, even if the games like aren't the best quality when it comes to third party games. I know third party games on Nintendo systems always run like shit because let's be honest, Nintendo never cares about graphics, and the Switch is running like a mobile processor from like 2014 or something. But for me, I've always wanted my games all in one place. That's just me, so that's why I never gravitated towards PC as well. It just honestly wasn't for me, and then just a lot of different reasons. So that's why I don't play PC gaming. But yeah, going back to 2020, the 2020 release date for that game looks fantastic, and I'm actually very excited to see what else is coming out in 2020 because the possibilities are definitely endless, especially for Nintendo. And things like that, because that's something that's going to be very interesting and very cool to see how they actually pull off their 2020, because who knows what they have. I hope they have something big coming out. We still also have rumors floating around that who knows that if Breath of the Wild 2 can be coming out, because if Breath of the Wild 2 comes out in 2020, Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be a flat out fantastic game. I'm actually also curious to see if Nintendo is actually going to call if they're actually going to call Breath of the Wild 2 Breath of the Wild 2, or they're going to have a different subtitle. I'm actually in the camp where I think that Nintendo is not going to call their system Breath of the Wild 2. I actually think that Nintendo is going to call it something else. I mean, it could be called Breath of the Wild 2, but I honestly don't think so. But I could be wrong about that, because you look at the past, something with like Galaxy, and that in Galaxy 2 was pretty much DLC for Galaxy 1. It just became too big, so they decided to make a Galaxy 2, and then they just called it literally Galaxy 2. And if this game's just more Breath of the Wild, I guess they could just call it Breath of the Wild 2. We've seen the trailers for that game. We also seen the engine of that game, and that game is not going to be a different game in terms of like the world, or in terms of like the actual graphics or the engine. It's going to be in the same world, the same environments and things like that. Link is going to practically look the same. You can see everything looks the same. So I would understand if they just decided to call that game Breath of the Wild 2 and not called it something else. So that actually makes sense. But yeah, the roadmap for 2020 is going to be kind of exciting. It's exciting, and honestly, I'm very curious, especially since I am a Nintendo fan. Who knows what Nintendo has in store? That's probably the one I'm actually looking forward to the most, which is actually weird to say that, since I know I'm a Nintendo fan, but just the fact that next gen consoles are on the way, we don't even know what next gen consoles are actually going to be like. We don't even know their interface. We don't even know a lot of aspects about them. We don't know the release lineup of those. We don't even know the actual price tag of those consoles, because a lot of people are saying those consoles are going to be super expensive. They're going to be like five, six, $700. But then a lot of people are saying it can be literally like $400 for the cheapest thing. I don't think that the next gen consoles would be anywhere near $300 like the current gen systems. I think over time, just like any other console that comes out, they always drop the price over time, because it's more cheaper to manufacture the processors. It's just more cheaper to get all the parts, and the consoles are aging, so it does make sense that they want to get people on board as well. And if they want to get people on board as well with the consoles, it would actually make sense to lower the price over time. So I can definitely see them lowering the price over time. But initially, I think maybe I can still see $500 being realistic for the next gen consoles, because $600, I mean, excuse me, $500 does seem practical and does seem realistic, because I think nowadays you look at something like the Xbox One X, I feel like a lot of people are actually warming up to the fact that they're okay paying $500. It's not like it breaks the bank for a lot of people. I know $500 is still $500, but just the fact that the Xbox One X has the power it does, I think a lot of people are just okay with that price. And that's also the same price that the original Xbox One came out as. I think a lot of people nowadays are not actually happy paying anything over 500 for a box that just plays games. Sure, these boxes do more than things like just play games, specifically like for instance, they play the like movies, they stream from the internet, they have a little bit more connectivity. But when you look at the boxes, when it boils down to it, you're really buying these boxes to play games, and that's literally all they're good for. That's really why you buy them. And if you're not playing games, there's no point in buying these for like a set top box and things like that, because honestly that doesn't make sense when we have things like Roku's, smart TVs, Apple TVs of the world, Chromecast. It just honestly does not make sense. So in that case, I can see why people would not want to pay $500 for the next consoles, or they wouldn't want to pay over $500 for the next consoles. I can definitely see why that would actually be the case. And I think honestly it would be a failure on their part if they actually went over $500. But then again, we are talking about these Ryzen CPUs that are a beast of it. I think Ryzen Core 2 or Ryzen something. I'm not the greatest at specs, but I understand specs. And those processors that are going to be in the next gen consoles are actually going to be very beastly consoles, because I do know for a fact A lot of computers use those processors, and you can easily play 4K games on those. We're still in a time where the PS4 and the original Xbox One didn't have the greatest power. They couldn't play games at 1080p right out the gate. A lot of games were playing at like sub 1080p, and if you were on the Xbox One side, things were even worse at launch. I remember when a lot of people were actually playing what's that game, Battlefield 4, and Battlefield 4 was an absolute disgrace, especially on the Xbox One, because it was playing at like 900p. And even some games, I kid you not, if you look at like websites like Digital Foundry and things like that, I kid you not, a lot of these consoles were actually we're actually playing at 720p, which is absolutely ridiculous considering that last gen consoles, a lot of games were already playing at 720p, honestly. So there's that. So that was actually very bad. So that explains why they actually decided to go with things like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, because they did realize that the power that were in these systems were not the greatest, to be honest. And honestly, one thing that still kind of bothers me is to know that Microsoft is actually potentially may already be making a two versions of the next Xbox, because here's how I look at it. I look at it like this. The reason I say that the next Xbox is a Here's the thing. I'm not really a fan, basically, of Microsoft making two variations of the next Xbox. I know some people may be okay with that and may think it's a good idea, which it is actually a good idea. It's not necessarily a bad idea. It is a good idea, but here's the thing I don't like about it. The fact that developers would have to develop for two systems would mean that we still wouldn't be getting the same we still wouldn't getting the best games, like in terms of how much power they can actually make, how big these worlds could be, because they have to focus on two different systems. And if developers literally only had to develop for one single system, that means games would be the best they can be, the most immersive experience, the best experience, and things like that. Not to say that we won't have good experiences next generation, because we'll definitely have some amazing experiences next generation. We're already hearing things like SSDs in the next PlayStation 5 are supposed to be some of the best SSDs you've ever seen on a console, honestly. And that makes sense. It is definitely going to be better than this generation when it comes to console gaming. But just the fact that Microsoft would potentially be stabbing themselves in the foot, in my opinion, if they develop two different consoles, would kind of suck. But at least we are going to be getting more power, and we would be getting ray tracing. And ray tracing is actually a very big deal. I know a lot of people are touting it. If you're on PC right now and you have a current gen, or one of the current gen GPUs, I do believe the 20 series, I do believe they do support ray tracing. I know ray tracing is still in its infancy when it comes to actual gaming. A lot of games still don't support it. Ray tracing is probably not the best it can be, because it's still very new. We'll have to wait until next generation. I really think when next generation comes out, ray tracing will be much more better. More games will use it. More developers will learn how to make it the best it can be. It'll just be an amazing experience. And some of you guys may not even be aware of ray tracing. So if you're actually unaware of ray tracing is basically a technology where it actually makes a lot of different environmental textures pop, and it just makes them look flat out amazing, especially when you're looking at like a shadow on a building, or when you're looking at things like a shadow on a puddle, or maybe you're just looking at your reflection in a puddle, or maybe you're looking at the sun beating down on a car. That's really what ray tracing is supposed to be all about. Honestly, I haven't really experienced ray tracing at all. I've seen some footage on the internet, but of course, looking at footage on the internet for ray tracing compared to looking at footage on your own computer of ray tracing is, of course, a totally different experience. So truthfully, I've never really experienced ray tracing altogether. And like I said, ray tracing is only going to get better since all games next generation are going to support ray tracing. I think that's the biggest problem now, talking about this technology of ray tracing. I think ray tracing can't be the best it could be right now because a lot of these games that run on PC also run on console, and since a lot of these games run on console and PC is the only place you can have ray tracing right now. You can't have ray tracing on console since current gen consoles don't support it. Even things like the powerful Xbox One X don't support it. Also, the PS4 Pro doesn't support it because their architecture and the type of processor they have in there are literally potatoes. I do know for a fact. I think these current gen consoles we have right now, the PS4 and the Xbox One, run on things like the Jaguar processors. I think those are actually based off of mobile processors as well. They're not desktop class processors. They're not anywhere on the lines of like the Nintendo Switch processor, which you guys know the Nintendo Switch processor is an actual true mobile processor that's supposed to be in tablets. The Tegra X1 was already in like things like the Nvidia Shield tablet, the Nvidia Shield set-top box, and things like that. So we're not talking that low of performance. We're actually still talking about some teraflops of performance when it comes to these systems, but since they still can't support ray tracing, it does make sense that developers wouldn't even want to really care too much about ray tracing since a lot of people can't really access ray tracing and it's not really a standard technology. So that actually does make sense as well for that. So that's just something very interesting about that as well. And now let's actually move on from next gen stuff since I've literally been talking about next gen stuff for a little while now. So let's talk about games that I've been playing recently because I have been playing quite a few games recently. Like I said, I haven't really bought anything new recently. The nice thing is right now, I do have to admit, I did buy credit, or not buy, but I did get credit for Christmas for the eShop, but I haven't really used my credit. It's not a lot of credit. I think I got like $40 for the eShop, and it's pretty good credit. But the thing is, though, of course, I haven't really found anything that I actually wanted to buy. Have I wanted to buy an indie game or buy a AAA game because I could take that credit and actually put it towards a AAA game, a first party Nintendo game, or a third party Nintendo game, which would make me only have to pay like $20 upfront. And you guys know $20 is literally a price of an indie game, but for me, I'm just not really appealed to play any or buy any game on Switch. Honestly, I wish I would have got PlayStation credit since my PlayStation does have a my since the PlayStation Store did have a pretty nice sale for the holidays, and there's still a lot on the PSN Store or the PlayStation I have yet to play, and I can probably find a game there more easily to play than my Nintendo Switch since I own pretty much everything that I want to play. I know that really does sound crazy. How can you have too many games? Is there such thing as too many games, or are you tired of video games? But for me, I just haven't found that one game that I actually want to pull the trigger on. What I'm actually planning on doing with that credit alone, I think I'm actually going to end up saving that credit for like a rainy day for like the next Nintendo Direct or when Nintendo announces something crazy. Because when Nintendo announces Breath of the Wild 2, you know I'm going to jump on that bandwagon right away. The only way I wouldn't play Breath of the Wild 2 is if they went back to linear Zelda, but we already know it's going to be more Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild is literally like my favorite game of all time. Breath of the Wild is just flat out fantastic, and I love every aspect of that game. So most likely I'm going to be buying that on day one, but I'm still curious to see what Nintendo is going to do next year. So that's why I'm not using that credit. But going back to what I'm playing, since I kind of got sidetracked about that. Recently, I did end up finishing Super Mario Odyssey, and it's actually weird that I'm actually saying this on camera right now, since honestly, I never thought I would see the day where I would actually play Super Mario Maker or Super Odyssey. Sorry, why am I saying Super Mario Maker? I'm so confused right now. I'm talking about Super Mario Odyssey. But yes, I played Super Mario Odyssey for the very first time, and I actually just recently beat the game like yesterday prior to this stream, and let me tell you, that game was a very interesting game. I don't actually want to talk too much about my feelings about that game, since I actually want to make a YouTube video about that game, and I actually want to play that, want to talk about that a little bit more in an actual video instead of me right here, since more people can see that video, it'll be public and things like that. So I do want to talk about that, but it was interesting to say the least. And honestly, I'm actually, I would say, probably glad I played that game. But besides that, I'm going to talk about more about my feelings when I actually upload the video based on Super Mario Odyssey, and things like that. So that's the game I just recently finished. And then recently, I didn't play anything too new and things like that. I think the latest game I played was probably Fire Emblem from July of 2019. So it came out like 6 months ago. And that game is a pretty fantastic game. I actually never finished my Fire Emblem experience just because I had a dilemma where I was playing Fire Emblem Three Houses on the Switch, and the problem is I lost my game save, and my game save literally got corrupted, and I couldn't find it, or I couldn't find it, and then I had a backup, but I think I deleted the backup. So I had one that corrupted, and then I had one that was a backup, because I'm very paranoid, especially with big games that have multiple game saves. I think you can have like over 10 game saves in that game, and I had a backup game save earlier on in the game, but I deleted that like a stupid person. And then I couldn't find that on my Nintendo Switch Online, because my Nintendo Switch Online didn't actually back it up for some reason. I think the last save it backed up was like when I first started the game. So that was very disappointing to know that I actually lost my game save when it came to when it comes to Fire Emblem Three Houses, which was actually very disappointing as well. So it is what it is, and yeah. But I do plan on finishing that game, and I guess the real problem why I didn't get as far as I could have got the first time was not just because I lost my data, but I was actually kind of glad to lose my data, because the thing is with me, I was in a situation where I was actually playing the game, but my team just really suffered, and it wasn't the game's fault, it was my fault. I killed off a lot of characters, and then on top of me killing off a lot of characters, I didn't level them up right, and I had a hard time with the remaining amount of my characters. On one hand, I was okay with actually starting the game from scratch, but on the other hand, I was already like 9 or 10 chapters in, which really did frustrate me, because that game is a very long game. I think if you to do like one full playthrough of that game with one house, it takes you about 80 hours. And if you do everything the game has to offer, 3 playthroughs, it takes over 200 hours, or at least close to 200 hours, to do all the playthroughs in the game. So that's kind of unfortunate that I just had to restart the game. So I'm trying to get back to a Fire Emblem Three Houses and things like that. And going back to what I was going to say, was I did say I was actually going to clean up my mess. I'm still going to clean up my mess tonight, but I don't think I'm going to actually be on stream. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream a little bit early, just because, well, I don't have anything else to say, and I am streaming at a really weird time. I am streaming at like, what time is it actually? I haven't checked the time in a while. Yes, I'm streaming at like 1 a.m. in the morning right now. It's currently 1 a.m., so I'm probably going to cut the stream here. I do plan on streaming a lot on my YouTube channel, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream here. I'm going to try streaming probably tomorrow, as soon as I figure out what to actually stream. Do I want to do more just chatting and things like that? Because I definitely feel like doing more just chatting and things like that. So it is what it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this stream off here. I was thinking about playing Borderlands, but I'm just a little bit too tired to actually jump over to some Borderlands 3. I'd rather, after this, just clean my room and then relax for a little bit, get ready for bed, and call it, because it's literally 1 a.m. But I just felt like making this, and I actually wanted to get a little vlog style slash venting talking video up on my YouTube channel, because this really does make me feel a little bit better, and things like that. And also, I need to cut my beard, because my beard is or my sideburns or whatever are getting pretty thick and nasty, and I actually don't like the way they look. They're sticking out, and it does actually bother me. And I actually just recently also got a razor for my Christmas, and I really needed that, to be honest, because I have one, but it's like not in the best condition. It doesn't cut the best. It's like 7 years old. It really has to go somewhere. I need to throw that as far away as possible. So that's definitely what I'm gonna do as well. So anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.